It has not stated its reasons for this, but in the past it ordered similar closures on security grounds, claiming Dadaab could host terrorists from the Somali militant group Al-Shabaab. The camp, established almost 30 years ago, hosts about half of Kenya's refugees. Majority are Somali refugees who fled their country's civil war in the 1990s. Now let's discuss this further. We're joined via Skype by Jeroen Matthys, MSF Project Coordinator for Dadaab. Jeroen, firstly, your reaction to these news and what is the current status of the camp today? And also, of course, good afternoon to you and thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
Thank you very much and good afternoon to you too. So our reaction to this news was, of course, as a medical organization, we are very concerned about this call for closure. The closure is supposed to happen by June 2022, which is, according to us, way too fast to be able to provide for durable solutions for everybody who is here in these camps. As we've said, there's more than 230,000 people living in these camps. The majority of them are Somali. And for all of them, actually, a return to Somalia is not possible at this moment. The country is, at this moment, not stable enough to return people to that country.
Now, as I said in my intro, there have been no solid reasons given to why the Kenyan government would want to close this camp. What are you being told as an organization? And I mean, we're talking 230,000 people. What is the government saying in terms of where they will now be placed?
Very little, unfortunately. As a medical organization or as a partner of UNHCR, we are not an implementing partner, but we work together with them. We have actually very little knowledge about a real roadmap, which is still in development and which should come out in the coming months, explaining how they see to close these camps and to what to do with which population here. So while we know that there is an attempt to reinstate the resettlements more, and of course voluntary repatriations, we know that for the many people who are coming from Somalia, that is not a solution. Or resettlement would be, but it cannot be a solution for so many people. So we actually do not know at this moment what is the real solution that is brought forward for these people.
I mean, we know from the latest UN report that the number of those that are displaced and are refugees is up to 82 million as of the end of 2020. Just speak to me about, firstly, what this decision by the Kenyan government, what the impact of the closing of one of the world's biggest refugee camps will be.
Well, exactly. That is, of course, our concern. And I'm only talking about these camps, the Dadaab camps, because that's the place where we're working. We only work in Dadaab. But the impact, first of all, is, of course, it creates a further mental stress on the people who are living here, because they already didn't know their future. For 30 years, they have been living in these camps, requesting for more durable solutions. Growing up in camps, many of them actually are born here and grew up here. And now the threat of closure, many of them never set foot in Somalia. So of course it creates a huge amount of stress with the people and a huge amount of issues for them But what I have mainly the feeling is that people do not, because the calls have been so many, they do not yet feel that this is going to be a real closure of the camps.
Now, we know some of these camps, don't have a sort of longevity that you would think is ideal for any human being, to be living in. So what was the plan, long-term plans by the Kenyan government in terms of hosting some of these refugees? And as you've said, some of them were born into these camps. What was the fundamental plan for them? Where were they going to go? I mean, I don't even know if repatriation back to Somalia, as you've said, is even an option.
Well, As of now, definitely not. As of now, the repatriation is, according to us, not a possible solution. What the government had done was undescribe the framework, the refugee framework, which was done back in 2017, which actually hoped to create programs for integration of the refugees. Unfortunately, not a lot of progress has been made in Dadaab for that. While in Kakuma there has been some progress on these integration programs, here in Dadaab it has been very slow, the progress. And the call for the closure of the camps actually came right at the moment that UNHCR and the county government of Garissa, which hosts the refugee camps here in Dadaab, were coming to a finalization of an integration program, an integration development program, which probably would have taken a couple of years to implement, but would at least bring a durable solution for the refugees living here.
Jeroen, today is obviously World Refugee Day. As an MSF Project Coordinator, maybe talk to us about just some of your experiences with refugees and especially at the Dadaab camp.
I hope you don't hear the sounds in the background, but actually our teams are on the ground celebrating MSF World Refugee Day with the people in the camps, doing different activities. But my personal experience, I've talked a lot with refugees, and of course we do a lot. And many of them have harrowing stories. Some of them have returned back to Somalia at some point, came back here. And their main concern is it is just unsafe going back. In the last months alone, we've had several thousand people arriving at the camp, at the Dagahali camp where we are now, all talking about the insecurities and the difficulties they have due to the terrorist movement you have mentioned before, Al-Shabaab. Many people are fleeing currently Somalia, arriving here at the camps. So for the people who are already here for many years, their biggest concern is going back is no option. Many people have settled here also quite strongly over the 30 years, have built up their lives here and have found some way to cope with being a refugee, despite the many limitations brought by the Kenyan government. These people cannot leave the camps, so they try to build up a life here. And even that investment that they have done here is now possibly going to be lost in the future if they have to return. So their livelihoods, whatever they have as livelihoods, will be lost completely. So of course there's this huge concern.
Now, as we wrap this interview, just very quickly, what are some of the urgent needs of people in the Dadaab refugee camp at this moment? And are you having an opportunity, just to engage with the powers that be, given that your deadline is June 2022? Yes.
Well, first of all, we are a health organization, so we look mainly at the medical needs or the health needs of the population. And we fear actually that in the future, the continuation of care, particularly for people who have chronic illnesses like diabetes or hypertension or who have mental health disorders, their continuation of care, if they are repatriated or if here in Kenya the camps will be closed without a real solution for the refugees, that will become very difficult for them. So we do engage with not only the other health partners who are present here in Dadaab, but also with the county government, the Garissa county government, to try and prevent such a scenario and to try and see how we can collaborate to make sure that in the future people will not fall to the cracks and still be having access to healthcare. Other access that I can see is other that I can see will be access to clean water and access to food. At this moment, that is, of course, foreseen by WFP and other organizations, but we don't know how this is going to be in the future beyond June 2022. So that are our main concerns, actually.
Now, very quickly, I know that I said that was my last question, but you did mention that there are other refugee camps in Kenya that, as MSF, you are also providing assistance to. Talk to us very briefly about some of those. Are they in any way under threat?
No, I think you misunderstood me. I'm sorry. We're actually only working in Dagahale camp, which is one of the 3 camps in Dadaab. And the other 2 camps are actually, the healthcare is provided by other organizations.
Well, in that same...
So sorry about that.
No problem. In that same breath, are you able to muscle your way in terms of engagements and have some of the refugees move to some of those camps?
I'm not sure that I understand that question. Which camps? The camp, because they closed the 3 camps. The plan is to close all the camps here in Dadaab, the 3 camps. So basically, what we foresee is actually that, there might be no more other healthcare actors present here, or their contribution might be much lesser than what it is now. And that is, of course, a big concern to us, because that means that possibly up to 150, 160,000 people will no longer have access to healthcare or to good healthcare.
Which makes that situation even more dire, especially because we are talking on this special occasion where we are marking, a World Refugee Day. It makes it even more, I think, sad, if I can call it that. But yeah, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. I really do appreciate it, and we do wish you all the best in terms of, those negotiations and having a smooth transition into, into finding a permanent solution for some of those that are left destitute. Thank you so much. Well, that was Jeroen Matthys, and he is the MSF Project Coordinator for Dadaab. As you know, the Kenyan government has ordered the UN Refugee Agency to close the Dadaab refugee camp, which is one of the biggest camps in that country. Well, we'll have more of your top stories when we return. Stay with us.